Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. How are you all doing? Now, what a weekend it has been. I did not expect to be sitting here after the 72 hours that we had. If you were here on Friday, we were supposed to do a live AMA on Saturday, and they pulled the plug at the last minute. So because of that, we didn't have any time to put together a live for you guys on Saturday morning. Remember, we stream at 11. We were going to do the AMA at 11 as well. So they pulled the rug. We didn't get a chance to do the live stream on Saturday. But even if we had have done, we completely missed everything that went on in the markets. Now, for those of you that follow us on our social media channels, I made a very quick update video called Bitcoin What is Happening, and I put it out yesterday morning. I explained what has happened, and we're going to go through it on the stream today. But basically, in a nutshell, there were two events that happened between Thursday and Saturday evening that caused this huge downward pressure. And we are going to go through a lot of other things today, not just Bitcoin. We're going to go through Marathon. We're going to go through Sol. We're going to go through key holds. We're going to go through the XRP settlement, possibly, and then some final thoughts. And there's a lot of people in chat today wanting to know what is going on with crypto. So hopefully I am going to try and make you feel a little bit better. First of all, good morning to everybody in chat. We have Harry, Tartaland, good morning, Peter. We have Bullish, we have Danny, and on other platforms, we have all kinds of people. Remember, if you're new here and you are not subscribed, please take the time to hit the subscribe button or the follow button, whatever it is you have in front of you. Bottom right-hand corner, I am still holding on to the $74,000 target. Remember the halving. The halving is in 4 days' time. Bottom left-hand corner is the number of followers. We've got just under 118,500 followers. Incredible, considering where we were this time last May. Was it maybe last April? Anyway, let's get on with some charts. First of all, the market has recovered somewhat on some bullish news that I'm going to tell you about in a second. Market cap is up to 2.43 trillion. Volume is 118 billion. Sizable, considering we're coming off the back of a Sunday. Bitcoin dominance. Look at that. Almost 54%. I don't think it's going to top out at 60%. Ben Cowan does. I am not an expert. Ben Cowan is an expert. Peter, this correction was great to accumulate. Absolutely. I say this all the time. If I offered you, when Solana was at $200, if I offered you a $130 Solana, you'd have taken my hand off. If I offered you a $61,000 Bitcoin when we're at $72,000, you'd have bit my hand off. These are good prices to pick up the coins that you have missed out on. And I'm going to do the 7-day performance of coins in a minute, and we will look at what gems there are that have lost the most that potentially will rebound as well. Now, of course, the headline of the show, it's all over. It really isn't all over. We don't know what's going to happen at 3:30 when the American markets open. We don't know whether it's going to be bullish. We don't know whether it's bearish. I've got some price targets for Bitcoin, which I'm going to go through as well. There's a lot to get through. It's a Monday morning. Normally, we don't have a lot to talk about, but we have a lot. So let's get on. So Bitcoin coming in at 66,250, Ethereum 3250-ish. 24-hour gainers. We've got a lot of coins that have recovered. Neo, Core, IOS, Beam, Ondo, Pendle, lots of coins up. Lots of coins with RWA, real world assets. And losers, still losing over the last 24 hours. Celestia, Flare, Jasmy, Audi, Stark, not many losers on there, to be honest. Now, this is the important thing. What bargains can you pick up that have dropped the most over the last 7 days? Audi, good project. Core, good project. Uniswap, of course, the SEC is suing them. That's down a third. Bonk, meme coin. WorldCoin, we don't talk about. Aptos is down 31%. Chiliz is down 30%. Not really a big fan of Chiliz. Filecoin, good project. The way to look at this is, a few weeks ago, and over the course of the last few months, I've been saying that for me, certain coins are too far along for this stage of the market. Most notably when Solana was over $200. I don't like Solana being over $200 before the halving because I want Solana to have a blow off top. $160, $170 I was okay with because that gives us chance of a 5 or 6x in the bull run. Now we've dropped down. I think we're at one. Are we at 145, 155 now? 155. I'm happy with that. Fran, it seems that the one who jumped over the wall was not the calf, but a black swan. Yes, it was. And that's one of the things I said in my video on Sunday is you can expect black swans, but when they happen, it's still going to shake the market. If you look at the price of gold on Thursday and Friday last week, and you hear the news of what Joe Biden and the country that did what it did over the weekend, if you listen, you will know that some people knew this was going to happen. Now, that still doesn't mean it wasn't a black swan. It's a black swan when it can affect the market out of the blue. And out of the blue doesn't mean that nobody knows about it. If we go back to the last pandemic, people knew about the pandemic 6 months before it hit the markets. People knew this was going to happen maybe a month or two before it did. So black swans don't necessarily mean it's completely unexpected. It's expected by a few people. You can go back to the subprime mortgage collapse in 2008. The people in the know knew it was going to happen. The rest of us didn't, especially at the time. So it was a black swan. It was a black swan that we are expecting. There are other black swans to do with Taiwan and China. That's a black swan. It doesn't mean we don't know about it. We just don't know when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. There are also white swans as well. Don't forget, there are things, unexpected, good turn of events. So anyway, let's move on and start with the show. As always, you know, if I find a nice one, I like to start with a little video. Fran has been talking about the calf that jumps over the wall, and today we're going to start with another very nice video. And again, live streaming, X decides to not work. So this is me during the last 72 hours. I am as calm as this little creature on here being pecked to pieces by all the little ducklings and everything else, and I am just waiting for it all to blow over. I am like a river, still water. When things like this happen, the best thing to do if you don't have money on the side is just be like this little tiny creature. If you have money on the side, then you should be dollar cost averaging in to the coins that you think you've missed out on. And that's the key for when we say have 10 or 15% in cash on the side. That's easier said than done because there have been multiple dips over the last 3 months, January, February, March. And if you've been buying those dips along the way, there's a good chance you don't have any money left on the side. And to be honest, I don't blame you. We're 4 days before the halving. We're going to have a very volatile week ahead of us. And if you've got no money on the side, just do this. Don't touch your keyboard. Don't touch your phone. Don't touch your mouse. Just wait. Wait for the halving and then give it another year and you'll be far happier. So, I sold some of my stocks today to top up Solana, and over the next couple of days, yeah, I agree. The problem is, and we're going to get onto it obviously in a minute, is that you always have good news and bad news. You don't have a sea of bad news, even during the pandemic, even during the subprime mortgage collapse, even during this moment in time, you're not going to be filled with 100% bad news. Now, Hong Kong approving the spot Bitcoin ETF, it didn't just approve the spot Bitcoin ETF, it also approved the spot Ethereum ETF. Now, if I said to you, China approves the spot Bitcoin ETF, maybe that will help you understand a little bit more about why this is so significant. Hong Kong is a conduit for China. Whether people want to admit it or not, it is the case. People go to Hong Kong with bags full of cash and exchange them for Bitcoin. If you think that people will be able to use proxy companies in Hong Kong, proxy individuals in Hong Kong, to buy these spot ETFs, you'd be right. This is China opening up more access to Bitcoin. Don't think that China didn't have a say in whether this happened or not. It certainly did. So this is massively bullish news. Is it going to be bullish enough to fend off the news from what is happening in other places? That I do not know. And that for me is the issue. It is the issue at the minute. Right, let's move on. Let me try and get through some of these comments. There's a lot of good mornings out there. I'm going to have to skip over most of you, I'm afraid, because I simply cannot I simply cannot keep up with all the good mornings. But good morning to you all and welcome to the stream. I'm glad you're here. I am going to try and read some of your longer questions in a second. Let me just go in here and have a look. Peter, I still find it hard to believe that all crypto coins will go 10x plus as I'm new to this space. If it was the stock market, there would be inquiries, but this seems lawless. What you need to understand about why coins can 10x from here, Peter, is it's not because they are pump and dumps. People who own Bitcoin and have bought Bitcoin at say $10,000 or $15,000, if Bitcoin gets to $200,000, the liquidity from Bitcoin leaves and goes into altcoins. So people will buy Solana, Cardano, XRP, Avalanche, Chainlink, and they will buy it with the profits from Bitcoin. So all of these coins around Bitcoin, Bitcoin owns 56% of crypto. That's it. It's 56% of crypto at this moment in time. Maybe it will even go to 2/3 of the value of crypto. So Bitcoin should always be your number one coin in your portfolio. And if it had have been over the last 2 years, you would have lost less value than anybody else. There is the odd exception, Solana being one of them. So holding Bitcoin is your main portfolio. Now, let's say you make $100,000 and you decide to take $50,000 to fiat and you park that away. But you want to then invest that cash into the alt season. That alt season happens after Bitcoin's had its fill. It's like the big lion, the alpha male has finished eating the cow and is walking away, and all the smaller cubs come and start eating the carcass. That's what alt season is. We will see the altcoins rip from the liquidity from Bitcoin. So if you imagine 20% of the market cap of crypto leaving Bitcoin and going into these alts, they will all rip. Now, when I say all, I mean 90% of them will rip. There will be some coins that don't rip. There'll be some coins that just never get back to all-time high. ICP will never see its all-time high ever again. But other coins will. Avalanche, Chainlink will. The RWA coins that I'm going to make a video about today, the real-world asset coins, they will have a rip. Not every single low-cap gem will pump. That's the other thing to bear in mind. So don't worry about trying to catch every 1000x. It's not going to happen. Again, just relax with the markets. This is short-term FUD. Don't believe for 1 second we are going into WWW. I think if you've put $14,000 into crypto, 100,000 isn't a bad return. That would be a 7x. I don't think that's unachievable. just don't tinker. The people who make, long story short, there was a research team who went and researched portfolios, and the greatest investors of the last 50 years are all dead. And the reason they're the greatest investors is they don't swap coins, they don't trade, they buy and hold. Because if you try and catch the faster trains, they tend to get to the stops faster, and then the slower coins catch up. You'll see that with Cardano and XRP. Everybody will fade those two coins, maybe even BNB, for the next 6 months, and then come the end of the bull run, those coins will have done their usual pump. It just happens. Now, the other thing to bear in mind about crypto is crypto, irrespective of the volatility of the market, is a way out of traditional banking and traditional investing. That's another way to look at crypto. So if you hold Bitcoin and you want to send me Bitcoin, nobody in the world can stop you. If I want to send you an Ethereum, or maybe not Ethereum, maybe Monero. If I want to send you Monero, wallet to wallet, nobody can stop me. Countries and banks are on borrowed time, and there needs to be a correction in the banking industry. This is the debt to GDP ratios by country. This is how much debt each country owes as part of its GDP. And some of these numbers are frightening. Should I sell when time comes all at once or one at a time? What you should do, Peter, is dollar cost average out. Fran, I think, I asked a few weeks ago, or maybe even a week ago, do you want me to make a video about how to dollar cost average out at the end of the market? Or make a live stream about how to dollar cost average out at the end of the market? And that's what I'm going to try and do. When you buy your crypto, you buy it week after week, month after month, for however long. And that's called dollar cost averaging. Go and look it up. We've made videos about it in the past. When you get to the end of the bull run, which could very well be September, August, July, October next year, we don't know exactly. I think it will be October or November, but I'm not a clairvoyant, I don't know. The point is that you say to yourself, okay, I want to sell my coins at this price. Now, you don't know what that price is yet, but forget that for a minute. Let's say you're going to sell Cardano at $5. When the price starts to approach $4, you start to sell 10% of that coin every week for however long it takes. And you will ride out the peak and then the dip at the end. And it might take you 3 months or 4 months to get out of the market, because nobody is going to tell you the exact price Bitcoin is going to go to, or Cardano or Solana. Nobody knows that answer. So the best way you can do it is hedge your bets and sell every week. The same way you bought to get into the market, you sell to get out of it. And the reason you dollar cost average out, if Cardano goes to $4, then $5, then $7, then $9, then $15, for whatever reason, if you're dollar cost averaging out, say 10% a week, you're going to catch $4, $5, $7, $9, $11, $12, $15, $20. You're going to catch all of those sells. And then your average out price might be $9 or $8. So you start before you think the market's coming to an end, and then you sell every week. And you do that, and yes, you're going to hold a little bit of crypto at the end, but after a couple of months, you're going to be out of the market. I can't tell you exact prices for coins. I'd have to have a look at it. I'll have a look at it at the end of the show if I've got time to have a look at it. So then, these are the debt to GDP ratios by country. The US dollar is now, United States is the 5th highest debt to GDP ratio in the world, up 20%. Absolutely terrible. That's why you want to be in crypto. That's why you want to keep some of your cash in gold I said that word, yes, gold, and some of it in crypto. So, Raoul Pal, I like him. Many people despise him. I've never heard him shill. I've never heard him do half the things people accuse him of. Every time I've listened to Raoul Pal, he has made perfect sense. This is his set of kind of rules, if you like, for crypto. No leverage, so don't 20x long Bitcoin. No FOMO, don't buy a coin because it's gone up 200% in a week. That's called chasing a chasing a tornado. If you catch the tornado, you're going to be flung in the air and wrecked. Self-custody with a good wallet. That is very important. The issue is for a lot of people who are new to crypto, they don't want to put their money on a ledger or a Trezor, and I get that. The exchange that we're streaming on is as safe as any. It's just seen the most brutal bull run in history, and it's still there. So take that as testament that the exchange you're watching on is still a good place to hold your crypto, but turn all of your security settings on. HODL over a long-term horizon, absolutely. Zoom out and remove the noise, absolutely. Expect 35% pullbacks frequently. We've just seen one. Now, this was from January the 7th. Cardano is the third biggest layer one, fourth biggest layer one in the world. And to get to a 200 or 300 billion market cap is easily achievable for Cardano. My target is $3 to $5, by the way. So my target is a lot less than what I've just been talking about. I was just giving you an example. And BTFD, I'm not going to say what that is, but it's buy the dip. There we go. Now, let's move on very quickly to talk about Bitcoin. That's why you're all here. Now then, so this attack that happened on Saturday night caused the price of Bitcoin to fall to $61,500. If you think that that is bad, you should have seen what happened during the pandemic, where Bitcoin came absolutely crashing down over that period of time. $61,500 isn't that bad a dip, considering it would have scared the pants off most people. Just remember, Bitcoin on Friday and Bitcoin today are the same asset. Nothing has changed. Look at the price we are at now, 66,500. So we've already come back $5,000 of that loss. We're going to talk about some price targets in a minute. But we've already recovered partly because of the Hong Kong news, but we don't know what's going to happen in 4 hours' time when the American markets open. It could be chaos. The latest correction marked the continuation of a trend that started on April the 12th and worsened the next day. This was, of course, to do with the first reason we had this dip, and that was to do with Grayscale selling yet another $133 million of their Bitcoin. BlackRock only managed to buy, I think, 115 million of that. So we were at a deficit yet again in the market. And when these days happen, it suppresses the price of Bitcoin. So we were pushed down by Grayscale on Friday. Then Saturday night, the news came out about what was happening elsewhere. So the first dip was pretty much to do with Grayscale. The second dip was a macro environmental account, a black swan, if you like. So the first drop was to do with the Federal Reserve, which is signaled it's not in a hurry to reduce interest rates. I think that is smoke and mirrors. I think in election year, they will not be allowed to not cut interest rates. The election is in November. Interest rates will be cut by November. I don't care what anybody else says. It's not going to happen. The inflation rate went up 0.1%. It didn't move up 0.5%. Didn't move up 1%. 0.1%. It was just off target. Now that could have been a rounding mistake. We don't know. It could have been 2.36%, which is rounded up to 2.4. If it was 2.34, it would have been rounded down to 2.3, and we would have a different conversation. So it can do with maths. Maybe they want it to appear worse than it is to stop the markets getting overheated too soon. Remember, if Chairman Powell comes out and says, yeah, we're going to cut interest rates 3 times this year, the markets will price that in, and then stocks will go through the roof, lending will go through the roof, inflation demand will go back through the roof. It will all start again. So he has to keep a lid on things. It's like a pressure cooker. He has to let the pressure off slowly. So we know why that happened. Now we don't want to talk about this. We don't want to talk about any more of this. So now we know the 2 reasons. What happened on Saturday night, which I'm sure you're aware of, and in my opinion, it was the grayscale sell-off. It wasn't to do with the rate hikes, which people are talking about. They're just trying to scare the markets. However, I will go back to the chart that I brought up very briefly on Sunday's stream. We came down to 61 and change. We're a bit behind, so I'm not going to spend too long on this. I just want to show you some price targets. We're on the 4 hour again. Okay, there we go. So bull market support band is at 54,250. We haven't seen the bull market support band for some time. If the markets absolutely crash today, 54,000 is my target. And my advice would be to stock up on Bitcoin at that price. That's a bargain. Now, we're at 66,690. We have a kind of level of resistance, I suppose you could call it, at 67.1. Now, 67.1 is the price to focus on. What we want to see is this. I might need to go down to a shorter time frame to draw this, because that line is absolutely hideous. As I said, if I was around in the times of the Egyptians, I certainly wouldn't have left anything for anybody to be able to read. So I think what we need to see is this kind of price action. So we need to break 67.1 and hold and then move up. That's what I think we need to do. We've been in this range, which is... What range were we in? We were in a range, I think it was 64 or 63 up to 71.6. That was the range we've been in all the way since back here. So we've been in this range since the beginning of March. We haven't really changed. And we've broken down beneath it. And guess what? Now we need to come back up. Get back into this range. And I think 67.1 is the target we need to get through. 61.4 might hold us a support if we come back down, or we could just come back down. If we have a nuke, an absolute nuke in the market, 54,000, that's the line. The bottom wick could go to 52.4. Now, I'm not trying to scare you, because I don't think, I certainly don't think this is going to happen. I don't think we're going to do that. Bearing in mind, this blue line here is the halving. That's how close we are. So if we do come down, we are talking about a god candle, or not a devil candle, I suppose you would call it. And I think we will do that. Maybe. Something like that. If it happens. But 67.1, if we get above 67.1 and we're at $68,000 or $69,000 by 5 or 6 o'clock this afternoon, then we're good. But as long as we don't break below 54,000, I think we're good. I think we're really good. So as I was saying at the beginning, don't worry. These are events that come and go. They come and go. And you don't need to panic at all. Now then, let's move on. The 2 hidden gems for your RWA coins are Polymesh and Realio. I will have a look at them in a bit. Yeah, because I'm doing the RWA video today. And I'm going to show you how to find your RWA tokens in a minute. Right then, so $4.3 billion mining firm VP explains how this Bitcoin halving will be different. No, it won't. It never is. Everybody tells you the Bitcoin halving is different. It never is. Now, for those of you that are new to crypto, the Bitcoin halving is where the reward for mining blocks drops from 900 a day to 450 a day. It doesn't involve the price of Bitcoin going down by half. It doesn't involve the total supply of Bitcoin in the world going down by half. It doesn't go from 21 to 10.5 million. It stays at 21 million. The price will go up over time. And the reason is only 450 Bitcoin a day will be produced from now on. It will never go above that again in the history of Bitcoin. And in 4 years' time, that 450 a day will become 225 a day. And the miners who mine the Bitcoin, they receive these Bitcoins as rewards. Now, I think the two that I remember are Riot and Marathon Digital. They're the two that stick in my head. There are, of course, loads more. So Paul Giordano of Marathon Digital Holdings described the firm's strategy for the next Bitcoin halving event. Among those leading the conversation, Rob Nelson. In recent discussion, he called upon Paul Giordano, the vice president, to share a deep dive into the anticipated effects of the halving on the ecosystem. He opened the dialogue with the question on the exact timing of the halving, highlighted the uncertainties surrounding the event. We know when the halving happens, it's a block number. That's all you need to know. They get a number of blocks. Once it hits that block, the halving gets reduced. The event is expected to occur in late April, April the 20th, as far as I'm aware. It is unpredictable because the difficulty to solve the blocks changes, and that changes the timing to solve the blocks. So it's not an accurate figure, but it's roughly April the 20th. He pondered the lack of a significant price run-up leading to the halving, questioning whether this indicates a shift in market reaction. He responded by comparing the expected impact of this fourth halving to previous ones, suggesting that as the Bitcoin network matures, the ripple effects of halving events on the market become less pronounced. I agree with this, and the reason I agree with this, I think this is the last great bull run. Because the halving, if you think the mining rewards were 1,800, then they became 900. That was a drop of 900 a day. This is only a drop of 450 a day. The next one will only be a drop of 225 a day. The effects of the supply shock become less and less as the market matures and the number of Bitcoin goes up. Remember, we've only got 1 million Bitcoin left to mine. There's not a lot left. We've mined 90% of the Bitcoin, 90% of the Bitcoin. So overall, I agree with him. The ripple effect is going to have an effect. But we're going from 900 to 450. In addition to that, we now have ETFs coming on board. And as long as those ETFs buy more than 450 a day, coupled with Mr. 100 buying his 100 a day, you suddenly realize what happens when 1,000 Bitcoin a day are being bought and there's only 450 a day being mined. The price goes up to the point where people sell. So the price accumulates to a value where you decide that you want to sell your Bitcoin. Now, if you've got 100 Bitcoin and the price hits $100,000, you might want to sell one or two. So it will be a trickle effect back into the market of the Bitcoin that people have held for a long time. And everybody should have their own price in your head. You should have a price of 100, 200, 500,000, $1 million, whatever that number is. You should have a price in your head that you would sell Bitcoin. Unless you're a maxi, and then it's never. Fair enough. But that price has to go to a level where the number of people buying matches the number of people selling, and that has to find a price. I don't think that price is $66,000. I think it's way higher. I don't think it's $1 million by any means. I think it could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, because there has to be enough Bitcoin being bought. What happens when we run out of Bitcoin on exchanges? Some of you will say, well, that's not going to happen because people will want to sell. Yes, but the constant drain on the price, on the supply of Bitcoin by these ETFs and Mr. 100 and Michael Saylor, that constant drain on Bitcoin is not being filled up. It's like somebody is taking the plug out and the water coming into the sink is not filling the sink fast enough, because that drain, those ETFs and everybody else that's buying, is just sucking all the water out. And the tap has to flow fast enough to stop the sink from emptying. And that's what the situation we're in now. These exchanges are the sink. Bitcoin is the water. And when you halve the number of Bitcoin being produced from 900 to 450, you're making that sinkhole bigger. And the water just cannot keep up. And that's the situation we're in. So irrespective of what you do with your altcoins, Bitcoin is different. Bitcoin will always be different. And all the stories of the demise of Bitcoin are premature. It's still 56% of the market. It's still owned by all the big... Look at BlackRock. Which two coins have BlackRock decided to use? The biggest powerhouse in the world. They want to own Bitcoin and they want to use Ethereum. That says everything you need to know. They have hundreds of researchers and they're telling you by their actions, remember, not by their words, we're going to use Ethereum to power our real world asset digitization program, and we're going to use Bitcoin as our store of wealth. They've told you everything that you need to know about what their strategy is over the next 5 years. That information then is up to you on how you use it. Do you hold Bitcoin and Ethereum only? Do you buy real world asset stocks? Do you buy Ondo and start to use Ondo? That's entirely up to you. Moving on then, Solana has been hampered by its own success. We spoke about this on Friday. There is a current fix in the pipeline to prioritize traffic. Anza, a collective of developers focused on the Solana blockchain, has produced a fix that aims to reduce the congestion that the network has been experiencing. The new version of Solana, now being tried in testnet, includes a feature called stake-weighted quality of service that prioritizes transactions from higher quality validators. Now, we don't need to read all of this. Suffice to say, I said on Friday that they would work on a solution, and they are doing. That's all we really need to know. Now, the issue has been that we have seen the advent of several new apps running on Solana, one of which is Ore Supply, which is a proof of work network that's been built on top of Solana. And it went from 0 to 15% of the transactions in the space of a week. We had bots, we had various different token airdrops, we have Star Atlas using thousands and thousands of transactions a day. All of this just basically broke the camel's back, and now they're working on solutions. And remember, this is in real time that they're fixing things. They can't take the network offline for 2 weeks to fix them, so they have to fix them in real time. Whenever the network is getting high traffic, you'd want a way to prioritize good connections. The idea is that staked validators are incentivized to use the connections to send useful transactions. I totally agree. While congestion has subsided at the time of writing, almost every 6 out of 10 non-voting transactions are failing on Solana. Nonetheless, top wallets in the Solana ecosystem like Phantom have deployed fixes to enhance their user experience and transaction success rates. The question I would ask is it time for Solana to look at roll-ups and use a layer 2? Or is Solana going to power through and try and remain a all-in-one solution for retail? Who knows? Now, I'm bringing up a very interesting chart, and that is the Solana chart. Again, always defaults to the 4 hour. Now, that was my line of where we were going to go over the course of this week. I thought we were going to go back up and retest $200. We were doing so well. and then it all fell off the edge of a cliff, didn't it? As we saw with the news about Grayscale and, of course, the news over the weekend. However, what did we do with Solana? Solana did what Solana always does, and that is it finds its level of support and bounces. And that level of support, this line, by the way, has been here since October. We go all the way back. September, let's call it October for the sake of argument. We came down, we bounced, and again, we need to get back above $174 to get back into this range. Where are we going to go if the world decides that it wants to have more conflict? I would put that there at $123. If we approach $123, I would be buying Solana. That's my line in the sand for Solana. I don't know what's going to happen in 4 hours. Remember, we saw this Bitcoin drop, but the people that hold ETFs, they can't sell because they're only open Monday to Friday, 9 till 5 or 8:30 till 4:30, so they can't sell. So what's going to happen when the market opens is crypto could tank. That's why I gave you the $52,000 target for Bitcoin. Now, maybe the shock of Saturday has subsided. Maybe the bullish news on Hong Kong is going to weigh us up, and maybe we will open, if not higher, hopefully without another dump. Now, if we don't get a dump, we need Solana to move back up towards $175. Remember, the halving is here, 3 days away. If we're at this price target by the halving, I am ecstatic, because that's potentially giving Solana the run of a 6x by the end of the halving. I know you heard George and people talking about $1,000 by the end of the year. I don't buy into that, because where does it go from there? Exactly. If you look at Grayscale Trust, they are selling Solana shares at about $500 a share, $450 to $500 a share. That's where they think the price of Solana should be right now. Now, obviously, they're paying a premium because they can't access it directly. They're having to pay a proxy. The premium is ridiculous. It's 150%. But that gives you a price target. Now, I think 450 to 500 by the end of the year for Solana is more than doable. That's a 3x from here. That's great for me. Give it another run into next year. Maybe it doubles in price again. So for me, I want to see $174 by the end of the year. We're sitting at this price. We're sitting in its volume area. If you look, the volume area here, which is on your screen, this is empty. So I think if we do get above 150, well, if we get above where we are now, then we could move straight back up to $168. But who knows what's going to happen when the market's open? Like I said, if we don't and we come down, I would be buying Solana at $122. That's where I would be looking to accumulate. Anything in that block there is the price for me. That is the worst drawing I've ever done. Let's get rid of some of these things. So again, let's try that again. You know what? I'll use the lines. So I would be looking to buy in that range there, if we come down to it, because that's the bull market support band, which we've hit, by the way, on Solana. Now, if we bounce straight back up to this area, great. If we don't come down here, this is a great place to accumulate. If I'd have said to you on what day? On the 1st of April, if I said to you, would you like the opportunity to buy a $130 Solana again? So pretty much a 35% discount. What would you have said? You'd have bitten my hand off. Now's your opportunity. We're down 25%. From this line here. If you want Solana, that's the place to buy. This is a great place to buy. We're not talking about an S coin or a meme coin. We're talking about potentially the third biggest layer one behind Bitcoin and Ethereum. So think about that. We might not be down here much longer. We could absolutely tear up by the end of the day. We don't know. Now then, let's move on very quickly. What are we? 11:45. We're not doing too badly, actually. We're not doing too badly. Let's move on. Do look. Where are we now? So then, this was yesterday. So these are the coins to hold amid the geopolitical tension in the Middle East. Now, I thought this was useful because a lot of people talk about Bitcoin as being a store of value, and then people mock when Bitcoin crashes. I get that. I do. It's not there yet. It's a fledgling asset. It's 14 or 15 years old. You can't compare it to gold. It's wholly unfair on Bitcoin to compare it to gold. If you look at gold, everybody in the world knows about gold. 6 billion people know what gold is. I would hazard a bet that not more than a billion people know what Bitcoin is. I would hazard a bet that less than 100 million people understand what Bitcoin is, what the halving is, why it's an inflation hedge, why it's a store of value. I would hazard a guess that the majority of you don't, and myself included, don't really know the exact absolute benefits of Bitcoin because they haven't played out yet. However, I understand as well you can't have a 100% Bitcoin allocation. So I thought this article might be good to go through. There are some that I agree with and there are some that I disagree with. If you think that these tensions are going to carry on for the next 6 months and you think it's going to affect prices, then you probably need to readjust your portfolios. So let's go through them very quickly then. So in the last 24 hours, we know about the price dips of all of these coins. There was liquidations galore over the weekend, billions of losses, hundreds of thousands of traders were liquidated. Now, what should you hold apart from Bitcoin? Ethereum. Why? It's the second biggest crypto. It's going to have its own ETF. The bigger the asset, the less volatility there is attached to it because of the size of it, the amount you need to sell. If you've got a $10 million meme coin and somebody sells $200,000 of that meme coin, it will tank the market. If you've got Ethereum, which has got hundreds of billions in market cap, it takes a lot more to drop it. So if Ethereum goes down 8%, these 10 million, 20 million altcoins will go down 40%. So you will lose less value in dollars if you hold Ethereum and Bitcoin. So I totally agree. Holding Ethereum and Bitcoin are two very good plays. SHIB Inu. No idea why anybody would recommend holding a meme coin during a period of conflict. Nonsense. Don't agree. I don't care what the charts tell you. You shouldn't be holding Shiba. Celestia, absolutely not. Look at the chart. We're going to go through Celestia in a minute. Key takeaway. The market has witnessed a notable outflow over the weekend attributed to Bitcoin's outflow and the Middle East. The market FUD is currently accelerating this selling pressure. So, out of the recommendations that who is this person? Sahil Mahadik. He has recommended Bitcoin and Ethereum number 1 and 2. Totally agree. Shiba, I disagree with. Celestia, I disagree with. Now, we're going to go and look at the Celestia price in a second. But what I would advise you to do, if you think that the markets are going to continue moving down, you should not look outside of the top 10 or 15 layer 1 and layer 2 tokens. So I don't mean Dogecoin. So you should be holding on to Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, Solana, maybe Cardano and Avalanche. I would not be holding Doge in a situation that we're in. It makes no sense. But we are going to look at Celestia because Celestia is an interesting chart. And we are all about looking at interesting charts on here. And the reason is that I've been telling you for a long time that I think well, number one, I've been saying that Celestia has been in a range for a long time. That's the first thing. The second thing I said about Celestia is what happens when the airdrop farming season comes to a close. What happens when the initial buzz of Celestia dies away? This happens. Now, it's a very new coin. We're talking about maybe November it being listed on this particular exchange. It's come up, it's got to this $20 range, which was the range that I was talking about was $14 to $20. And the reason is it was massive resistance, and then it tried to act as support, which it hasn't done. But the point of the matter was, we were in this range for, what's that, almost 3 months. And it didn't break anywhere, it didn't continue up. And in fact, if you look from this high in February, it's done nothing but go straight down. Now, irrespective of grayscale, irrespective of the Middle East, this has been following this downward trajectory. We're now trying to hold $10. I don't think it's going to hold. This here is its bull market support band. That's kind of like what we try and track with Bitcoin quite a lot, and Ethereum. Now, the price couldn't get back above here, it broke down. Now, look what it's done. It's tried to hold the bull market support band. And this is before, bear in mind, this is the end of March. Now, look what's happened. We fell to this fib level. We tried to break up over the same fib level. We haven't. And then the news came. We've come crashing down. We've bounced off this fib level here, which is $8.60. And now we're stuck here. So Celestia is not in a good place. $14 to $20 was always the price to look at, but I don't think this is in a great place right now. Now, if you like Celestia, if you like the blockchain, we always talk about the kill zone, the area where you should be accumulating Celestia, and we are pretty much in it. Now, I don't hold Celestia. I held it for about 2 or 3 trades. I sold at I bought at 10, I sold at 14, I sold at 14. I then bought again at 14 and sold at 20, and then I haven't held it since. So I basically tried to buy here, sold here, and then I bought about here, and then I sold about here. So that was my trading on Celestia, and then I've never looked back since. If you like the project, it's 50% down since its all-time high, which was February, 2 months ago. It's 50% down. So if you think this project has long-term legs, this is an incredible price to buy it. But I think a lot of this hype was to do with airdrops. This was all airdrop hype. And those airdrops, in my opinion, started to get released. And then guess what? People were making videos saying spend 20 minutes on Celestia and make $3,000 in airdrops. That's what people were telling you. And I don't buy that, because money doesn't appear out of thin air. A project has to generate revenue to create wealth, to create value in something. You can't just go into a shop and then give you monopoly money and tell you it's worth $3,000, and then you walk out of the shop and you go and try and use that monopoly money, and somebody says, well, I'll give you a $5 for it. Because that's what happens with these airdrops. Airdrops on existing projects that already have value, they make perfect sense to me. A brand new project, even Zeus, for example. Zeus is a proof of concept. It's not live. It's in a testnet, admittedly. It's not live. That coin I valued at 10 to 30 cents. At one point, it was trading at $1.10. And I thought, I've got this really wrong. I've got this really, really wrong, because it's 4 times what I think it's worth. But coins do have a habit of coming back to their worth. And in my instance, we have to get above, now, we have to get above $12.80, which is here. We have to get above $12.80 to get back into some kind of bullish momentum, because at the minute, we are straight down on Celestia. And I don't know if it's ever going to recover in the short term, but we shall see. Finally then, I am going to go and look at the real world asset tokens at the end. But before we get there, we're going to go and have a quick look at XRP. Now, there was a lot of FUD before all of this nonsense happened. There was a lot of FUD. Jesus, this is small text. Let's make this a bit bigger so people can read it. Okay, maybe not that big. 1 minute. Okay, here we go. So, there was an unlock that happened a few days ago that sent people into a spiral of panic, thinking somebody was going to rug pull XRP, XRP this, XRP that. They are rug pulling, and oh my word. These adverts are ridiculous. Okay. So Ripple recently unlocked 500 million XRP. Now that's, at the time, that was roughly $300 million, $350 million, something like that. Well, according to this, it was $310 million. It surprised everybody, it took everybody by surprise, except the conversations that happened after the release started to point towards a settlement. Remember how much the SEC want, remember how much that Ripple want to pay. At some point, Ripple are going to want to pay to stop this court case. We've said it 10 times on this channel. Nobody in their right mind is going to buy XRP whilst the SEC has its court case hanging over them. And when I mean anyone, I mean financial institutions. Nobody wants to touch XRP because their risk teams, the teams behind them, they're not going to want this to happen. So when $300 million gets unlocked, what do we think that means? Now, the J. Nelson way, you know what that probably means? Settlement incoming, approximately 300 million, a sixth of the original settlement amount from the SEC. Now, I agree. I said, again, I think the settlement will be $200 or $300 million. At the time when the SEC were asking for $2 billion, and I said I think they're going to get away with a $200 or $300 million fine, and that'll be the end of it. This could very well be the case. Why are they going to unlock $300 million? That ties in an awful lot with what I was saying the fine was going to be. Now, it doesn't mean, it's not good news for people of XRP holders in the short term because it's going to suppress the price. But if the price drops 5% suddenly and 10%, or whatever it might be, and you don't know what's going on, those 500 million XRP have been sold. And then the next step is a 4x. If the price of XRP comes crashing down to 50 cents, I would expect it to shoot up to $1.50 to $2, because this is the end of the court case. We nearly broke $1 on the last bit of news. This is the final bit of news. So I would expect a huge God candle once this is announced. Is it going to be announced this week? Who knows? The system scheduled the release of 1 billion XRP on April the 1st. Only 500 million was triggered that day. As a result, the remaining 500 million XRP coins were finally released yesterday, bringing the cumulative amount unlocked to 1 billion. They do this every month. Nothing to worry about, because what they normally do is just move it to their treasury and it stays there. And that is pretty much all they have to do. Now, that is the news in a nutshell, but we are going to have a final thought. And the final thought is to do with a question that Peter asked me, but also ties in with the video that I'm going to make today. And that is to do with real world, let me go to categories, real world assets, RWAs. The reason these are a buzzword is because of BlackRock and its Build, BUIDL project that Ondo is seriously tied in with. Now, all of these projects in here have some exposure to real world assets, some more than others. Good morning, Tariq. I hope you are well. You are late. We are at the end of the show. You have arrived at the end of the show. Very quickly then, my video that I'm going to be making today is going to focus on two things. Number one, getting you a stable Just wait for 1 second. I appear to have lag. And again, I have no idea why. Okay, I think I'm back. Okay, so very briefly then. Let me go through these tokens. What is going on? I think there must be something to do with CoinMarketCap. It must be an update they've done. Anyway, sorry. Right, okay. This is the last thought. If you want to hold a bag of real-world assets, you want to look at a combination of large tokens, and you want to look at a bag of smaller tokens. So Avalanche, not sure. Chainlink, absolutely. VeChain, absolutely. Ondo, absolutely. All of these tokens in here. Polymesh, again, very low cap. Origin Trail, very low cap. There is one down here. Proppy is the largest real estate token that you can get your hands on. So what I'm going to try and do today is make you a portfolio of real world assets that I think have a combination of large cap and small cap tokens in that give you exposure to different markets. I'm probably going to pick between 5 and 8. Haven't got a set number in my head. And I am going to include some of these on this list. But the reason I'm showing you this page is top right hand corner of CoinMarketCap, you can type in a phrase, meme, real world assets, layer ones, DeFi, and it will give you the tokens by those categories. And in this instance, it's real world assets. So I'm going to try and do that for you today. I'm going to give you a clue. Chainlink, ICP, and VeChain are probably going to be the 3 top market cap coins in there. I am going to include Ondo. That's going to be in there. Absolutely, that's going to be in there. I am going to probably include Polymesh. I am going to include Proppy. And I am probably going to go a bit further down and look at, where's it gone? It's not here. I think Clearpool as well. You have to bear in mind, at some point they become too small to include because the volatility becomes too much high. It becomes too much for the portfolio. So I'm going to try and do something sensible. It's not going to be 1000x in your portfolio, but it will be a sensible allocation of tokens that will try and give you exposure to different markets. That is what I'm going to try and do. There is a token RWA that I have researched I think might be okay. Is it possible to check? Yes. Which one? I will look at it for the video as well. So you drop your real world tokens into chat and I will have a look at them when I am off air. simply because I think everybody talks about real world assets, but real world assets didn't appear out of nowhere. They've been around for a very long time. VeChain did its very first tokenization project 7 years ago. Chainlink has been looking at real world connectivity to the blockchain probably for about 4 years. So there are tokens out there which have been doing this for a while, and now people are catching up. And the only reason people are catching up is because of BlackRock. But at the end of the day, if we're going to connect the blockchain to real world businesses, then you need to have that conversation between, you know, the car manufacturers, the banks, the insurance companies, supermarkets, fulfillment companies. You need those conversations, and that's what Chainlink's been doing for so long. Relio Network has got I mean, I'll have a look at it off air. I will go and have a look at it for you. Maybe I'll make a video about it while I'm at it. I'll go and see. But anyway, that is the end of the stream. It's 12:05. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Remember, I'm going to bring it back up. I'm going to bring it back up because like a still lake, that's what you should be like over the next 4 or 5 days. Don't panic about anything. Everything is going to be fine. I'll have a look at flow as well. We'll put them in there. So the 2 tokens you have asked for are flow and was it real? Yeah, I'm really lagging now. Relio. No, I think it's at my end. I think I'm lagging. I don't know why. It happened just before the stream went live. I don't know. Anyway, beside the point, have a great afternoon, everybody. In 4 hours' time, we're going to find out what's going to happen. But for now, I'm going to go because I'm laggy as anything. So take care. I'll see you all in the morning. Oh, one thing before I forget. We have a live stream tonight. We're going to look at a project called De Facto. It's a good project. We like the look of it. We're going to go through it. We're going to spend an hour. We're going to stream live on certain platforms. So check the calendar. And if not, we are on the red one, the red television one. So we're going to stream that tonight in about 8 hours. So we've got a live stream tonight. I'll be doing 2 videos this afternoon. It's a busy day, but it's a Monday. Mondays are always busy. So relax, take care. I will see you all in the morning or tonight if you can join us. See you soon. Bye-bye.